The world's largest warships don't just exist, they overshadow entire harbors, measuring longer than 3 football fields and displacing 100,000 tons. For decades, these floating fortresses have redefined what is possible at sea, yet most people underestimate their true scale and purpose. How did a single technological leap make their enormity routine, and why does so much of their power remain hidden in plain sight? In November 1961, USS Enterprise was commissioned, a warship unlike anything that had sailed before. Enterprise stretched 1,123 feet from bow to stern, making it not only the longest carrier ever built, but the longest warship in history. What truly set Enterprise apart was hidden deep inside 8 nuclear reactors, a power source never before attempted on this scale. Earlier carriers had been limited by the need to carry enormous amounts of fuel, forcing designers to compromise on size, range, and operational tempo. Enterprise changed that equation overnight. With 8 nuclear reactors generating a combined 280,000 shaft horsepower, she could steam at over 30 knots for years on end without refueling. The need for fuel bunkers and smokestacks vanished, freeing up internal volume for aircraft, munitions, and the systems needed for sustained operations. This single ship proved that nuclear power could break every previous limit on how big, fast, and capable a carrier could be. Enterprise's flight deck spanned more than 4 acres, supporting nearly 100 aircraft at peak capacity. During her first years at sea, she demonstrated that a carrier could project power anywhere on the globe, unbound by the old constraints of logistics. The Navy's gamble paid off. Enterprise was not only a technical marvel, but a working model for a new kind of fleet. Her success made it clear future carriers would be built bigger, last longer, and operate farther than anyone once thought possible. By the mid-1970s, the U.S. Navy was not satisfied with a single nuclear-powered giant. Instead, it set out to make size and power the new standard across its entire carrier fleet. The result was the Nimitz class, a series of 10 supercarriers, each one stretching over 1,090 feet and displacing around 100,000 tons at full load. The first, USS Nimitz, entered service in 1975. Over the following decades, 9 sister ships followed, all built with the same massive scale and nuclear endurance. Unlike Enterprise, which stood alone, the Nimitz class brought supercarrier size to every ocean on Earth. Each ship carried a typical air wing of 60 to 75 aircraft, from fighter jets and surveillance planes to helicopters. The flight deck could launch and recover aircraft day and night in all weather for months at a time. Below decks, the population swelled past 5,000, more than many small towns, creating a self-sustaining community at sea. Standardizing this scale meant that the Navy could deploy overwhelming air power wherever it was needed, at any time. The Nimitz class was not just about raw size. It was about making that size routine, reliable, and ready to respond. For the first time, the concept of a floating city was not just a one-off experiment. It became an everyday reality for sailors, aviators, and commanders who now lived and worked aboard these immense ships as part of their daily lives. Supplying life for more than 5,000 people at sea demands a scale of engineering few can imagine. On a Nimitz-class carrier, nuclear reactors generate enough electricity to rival the grid of a small city, powering everything from radar and navigation to kitchens, workshops, and air conditioning. Below decks, rows of massive tanks store over 3 million gallons of JP-5 jet fuel. This supply keeps dozens of aircraft flying for weeks, even as the ship circles the globe without pause. Fresh water is another critical need. Each carrier uses desalination plants that can convert hundreds of thousands of gallons of seawater into drinking water every day. That water supports showers, cooking, and medical care for the entire crew, with enough left to fill swimming pools if needed. Medical facilities match those of a regional hospital. Carriers are equipped with fully staffed surgical suites, intensive care units, and dental clinics. Surgeons can operate at sea, while medical teams handle emergencies ranging from flight deck injuries to appendicitis. All of this is contained within a single hull, afloat, and self-sufficient for months at a stretch. These ships aren't just war machines, they are floating cities, built to sustain thousands through any challenge the ocean throws their way. USS Gerald R. Ford entered service in 2017, carrying forward the imposing size of her predecessors, but transforming almost everything inside the hull. Where the Nimitz class relied on steam-powered catapults, Ford introduced the electromagnetic aircraft launch system, called EMALS. Instead of using pressurized steam, EMALS accelerates aircraft with a magnetic pulse, delivering smoother launches and reducing strain on both planes and crew. This technology allows Ford to handle a wider range of aircraft weights, from heavy strike jets to lighter drones, all with greater precision. On the recovery side, the advanced arresting gear brings a similar leap. It uses electromagnetic motors to slow landing aircraft, replacing the old hydraulic systems and cutting maintenance needs. Together, these upgrades mean the ship can launch and recover up to 25% more sorties per day, 160 compared to 140 on Nimitz-class carriers. That is a direct response to the Navy's demand for higher operational tempo, without making the ship itself any larger. Automation runs through every deck. Ford was designed to operate with hundreds fewer sailors than her predecessors, thanks to new sensors, computer controls, and streamlined workflows. Fewer crew means more space for equipment and supplies, and less strain on life support systems. Even with these advances, the ship retains the same footprint as the Nimitz class, proving that modernization does not always mean building bigger. It can mean building smarter. A supercarrier's arrival can halt a crisis before a single aircraft leaves the deck. In October 1962, USS Enterprise steamed into the Caribbean as part of the naval quarantine during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Its presence, alongside other carriers, forced Soviet ships to reconsider their course. No missiles were launched, no bombs were dropped, and not a single shot was fired from the carrier's air wing. The standoff ended with the Soviet withdrawal, shaped as much by the sight of that massive ship on the horizon as by any diplomatic message. Throughout the Cold War, these carriers became a familiar sight in tense waters, shadowing adversaries, enforcing blockades, and signaling American resolve. After September 11th, the same logic played out across the globe. Carrier strike groups took up station off volatile coastlines, their size and capability a silent warning. For decades, the world's largest warships have ended more crises with their presence than with their weapons, proving that sometimes showing up is the most powerful move of all. Standing on a city pier, most people expect a ship to look big until an American supercarrier arrives. The flight deck alone stretches the length of several city blocks, wider than a 6-lane highway, and it towers above nearby buildings. Even from a distance, the hull swallows up trucks and cranes, shrinking them to toys against its steel sides. Up close, the scale becomes almost impossible to process. The deck runs so far that you can lose sight of the bow in morning fog, and a walk from one end to the other feels more like crossing a neighborhood than crossing a ship. When a carrier docks, it doesn't just fill a berth, it dominates the skyline, casting shadows over warehouses and office towers. From ground level, the ship's height rivals a 20-story building. This is why so few people truly grasp their size. Unless you stand beside one, the mind simply can't picture a warship that outscales the city around it. Right now, these carriers project American power on a scale no other nation can match, over 100,000 tons of diplomacy at sea. Their very presence shapes geopolitics without firing a shot. In a world where deterrence is everything, size remains a statement. What do you think their future holds?